All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back at Lou Valino's Casa de Emmanuel, and I had planned to talk to Ted Arnaud about the draft and some of the prospects that the AFC North was looking at, meaning all the teams, including the Steelers. But as you saw earlier today on my blog, Mr. Rooney, my lifelong friend of 20 years, has passed away. Truly a pioneer, like his father Art in the National Football League. Hall of Fame class 2006 Lombardi trophies, and also known for that minority opportunity that is the Rooney Rule. Ted Arnaud is in Florida now, and he joins me on the AT&T Sports Line. Dan Rooney, they don't make them any better, Ted.
No, he was a class act all the way. I mean, we got to know him pretty well, you much more than I, but I remember when he brought this young football coach that he just hired after years and years of having two coaches, and he just changed the atmosphere of the NFL. And he was a very big believer in equal rights, equal opportunity, and he made sure, at least at his level, that the NFL continued with that. And I'm sure you remember when we were sitting there in the convention center, and he walked out to us with Coach Tomlin. We didn't know who he was.
I remember.
It was just the embodiment, if you will, of the Rooney Rule, and that he believed in it, and look how well that's worked out.
We were actually doing a special sports broadcast on News Radio 1020 KDKA at the Pittsburgh Hilton downtown for the Dapper Dan dinner, and I had heard that Mr. Rooney was there, and I obviously reached out, and the next thing you know, lo and behold, he walked right up to the broadcast location with his new coach, Mike Tomlin, and they spent a lot of time with us. That's one of many things that man did for me in my life, and I will always be grateful. Let's talk about his father, meaning Art, and why Mr. Rooney was significant at taking that football team to the next step. Obviously, the dynasty in the 70s, and in all, as I mentioned, 6 Vince Lombardi trophies, Ted.
Well, and it's amazing if you go back to 1933 and how the NFL has evolved, and how the Pittsburgh Steelers were at one point the Philadelphia Steelers, and they had to merge teams, and they worked their way through the Second World War. And if back then the NFL was really not much more almost than a league that they had together that was not really that professional. They had the owners were basically funding it out of their pocket. All of the NFL written that you see today didn't exist, and the infamous story, only part of it is true, is that he funded the Steelers after winning a bet at Saratoga Raceway in upstate New York, which is not entirely true, but I'm sure that part of the money that he won certainly helped him keep the Steelers alive. But you come out of World War II, and they go into the 50s, and the Steelers are really not much of a team. They did not have a whole lot of success and had to go through the 60s very lean. They had never really won championships, and lo and behold, they draft one guy by the name of Mean Joe Green, and then all those draft classes that they had after that with a whole bunch of friends of ours, L.C. Greenwood and others, and they just became the Steelers dynasty of the 70s. But if you look at them in the 60s, certainly it took a lot of guts, a lot of fortification from other places than the NFL tickets themselves to keep the NFL alive.
You know, another story that comes to mind is the very first broadcast in Heinz Field. It wasn't a football game, and it wasn't even an exhibition game, but it was yours truly and Mr. Rooney in the then News Radio 1020 KDK mobile unit. He gave me the opportunity one weekend morning along with him to be at the 50-yard line, and yes, it was still being, built, Heinz Field, and we did an entire broadcast, and I'll never forget just talking to him about the city and what it meant to him, and, growing up on the north side. And the thing, Ted, that he loved the most was high school football, and that's how he and I first became friends. I was doing a high school television show talking football, and he just loved talking football, but especially when someone would mention his North Catholic Trojans. And I believe, as I said earlier today, the passion that he had for a high school football player as an extremely good quarterback is one of the reasons why the Steelers became so successful under his tenure. He just had a drive and a spirit and really a faith that things would work out. And I think because of the passion that he had as a young player on the north side, he was able to turn the Steelers into arguably the greatest franchise in the history of the game.
Well, I think, once again, arguably, but there's only one team that has the number of Super Bowl trophies that they have, and it's them. So I would think you would have to say the most successful franchise, certainly in the NFL. And what a great story, though, and family. And if you remember, there were the times when Mr. Rooney, Art Rooney, passed away, that there were some issues with respect to how the team was going to move on because of state issues and other things. And, he developed a whole program to do that. And the Steelers, one of the few, really, franchises that have been able to stay with the original families that they and the Maras pretty much are it. I mean, there's really not much more. You look at Green Bay, but that's a publicly held company. So certainly it's not a family-owned enterprise like we see that the Rooneys have. So it's just a testament to the city, a testament to their family, and they're all just great people.
When you think of his status, many people like him are untouchable, but not Mr. Rooney. You could probably find him just about any day when he was in good health, strolling the north side, and he was very accessible, and he always took time to talk to the fans because he realized because of the fans, his family was able to accomplish what they did with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ted, you got the final word on Dan Rooney passing away today at the age of 84.
Well, I think he just leaves, along with his dad, an unbelievable legacy, and then Art is continuing it. They're considered really some of the stalwarts of the NFL, and just once again, I think Pittsburgh has nothing to do but look around and be proud that they are part of the Pittsburgh scenery. Certainly, the north side has blossomed. Heinz, PNC, all the development around there, Rivers Casino. Really, it all started with his dream on that north side. And I remember when they were going to build Heinz Field and PNC Park, everybody said, what are you doing? You already got this great facility. But when you look at those two facilities, which was one of his ideas, you're just going to look and say, there's lasting legacy that a family and a city and a state can be very proud of.
Much more throughout the weekend with me on the radio, but definitely make sure that you tune into the Coons Market Black and Gold Sunday show as we take a closer look at the life of my friend Mr. Dan Rooney. We'll be back to Casa de Emmanuel in East Liverpool in just a few moments.